Welcome to Mental Survival, the channel where we talk about the psychological aspects of survivalism and prepping. My name is Cliff Hamrick, and today I want to continue our discussion on belief systems by talking about personality types. And the reason why these two things are related is if you think about a personality type, your personality is basically what you think, how you act, how you feel, these sort of things. And as we talked about in our belief systems video, your belief systems sort of dictate what you think and how you feel and how you respond to those things. So in a way, your personality is basically your belief system in action. So if you want to know more about your beliefs, then you probably need to study more about your personality types. There's a couple of reasons why I think this is an important topic for people to learn more about. One is, as a clinician, I like my clients to know what their personality type is. There's a particular personality test. We'll talk more about that in a minute. They usually have them take, and that kind of gives us an idea of somehow their thoughts and their feelings and how they act about things and how they respond, and it feels true and it feels right to them. And I found that one way to conceptualize mental illness is to look at a person's personality type and find that usually there are one or two cases. One, a mental illness can be a part of their personality type that is not really being allowed to be expressed, so they're withholding it for some reason. And because they're withholding it, that usually causes them at least anxiety or depression because they're not really living true to themselves, so to speak. And then anxiety, depression leads people to do things to try and treat the anxiety and the depression, which can cause other problems, eating disorders, addictions, whatever, panic attacks, these sort of things. So that can kind of give us an idea of how their personality would like to be expressed, and then figure out ways to express it as a way to deal with all the other issues that arise from that. Another way that our personality type can impact our mental health is sometimes it is an aspect of our personality that's gone overboard. It's the opposite of the other case. In this case, it's being expressed too much, maybe to the point of excluding everything else. This calls to mind like some of my clients with eating disorders, particularly anorexia. I found that a lot of them have a personality type that's geared towards wanting to do the right thing, to the right thing as in morally right, but also the correct thing as well. And when this takes off, when this kind of gets exploited by their own eating disorder, then doing the right thing means only eating the right foods, not just correct foods, but also morally correct foods. So they start assigning things like this is bad food, this is good food, and then the list of what's good food gets shorter and shorter and shorter, to the point that all they're eating is like just celery or white rice or something. So their desire to do the right thing, to be the right kind of person, to please other people, to make other people happy, leads them to have this very sort of twisted, broken, unhealthy view of food and their body image and that sort of thing, and it can lead to them actually starving themselves to death. Eating disorders are much more than just I want to look good in a bikini and it got out of hand kind of thing. There's a lot of other things going on there. But by knowing what someone's personality type is, that can kind of give us a little window as to why they maybe are doing what they're doing. So from a clinical perspective, it's very good to know. From a survivalism and a prepping sort of viewpoint, the reason why it's important for you to know about your personality type is that is one of your tools. Your tool number one in your toolbox in any survival situation is your brain. It's that thing, this organ that's going to help you think your way out of a situation, or rationalize your way out of a situation. And if you don't understand how your brain works, you're not going to be able to use it correctly. For instance, I know some people who like own guns, but they may be taking them to the gun range like once or twice when they first bought it, and otherwise it just sits in a drawer. They don't practice with it. They've never taken it apart and put it back together again. They've never cleaned it. They have this tool, this very powerful tool, but they don't really know how to use it. So they have a half-ass understanding of how to use it, so they got half-ass results from it, which of course with a gun can be deadly. But this is true with any tool in survival. If you don't really know how to like carve wood with a knife, you're probably not going to do a very good job of that. And again, you could actually hurt yourself with that sort of thing. Even just lighting a fire with a match is kind of tricky at times. And so if you've never done it, you've never practiced it, you don't really know how to do it, it's going to be kind of hard to really maximize the effectiveness of that tool. Well, if your brain is tool number one, same thing. If you don't really know yourself, if you really don't know how you work, how your brain works, what you think, what you feel, why you feel that way, if you don't really understand these things, then yourself is not going to be the best tool that it can be in a survival situation. And so it is really important for you to understand yourself, so that way you can kind of get the most out of you that you can possibly get. The personality test that I like for most of my clients to take is called the Myers-Briggs. I think it was designed by two people named Myers and Briggs, which was based off of the work of Carl Jung. This test was built, I think, in the 1930s. It's a very old test. It's been around almost 100 years. And because it's been around for so long, one, it's in the public domain, so it's free. So there are a lot of places you can take the test online for free. I'm going to talk about one of those places here in a moment. But also it means it's been studied a lot. After such a long time, it's been studied, it's been refined, it's been tweaked, and so it's actually pretty accurate. There's lots of personality tests out there. You'll see them on Facebook all the time of like, what your favorite plant says about your personality type. They're kind of fun, but there's really little to no scientific validity behind those things. But the Myers-Briggs, there's a lot behind there that it really does work. And most of my clients, when they take the test, they find that they really agree with their results. And in fact, a lot of them are shocked. Not only are they shocked at how accurate the test can be, but they can also be shocked that not everyone thinks this way. And again, that's part of our belief systems, right? Is our beliefs feel so right to us that we literally don't understand why anyone else doesn't think this way or act this way. But then once you read through all the other personality types out there, you see that, yeah, not everybody thinks and feels the same way. And it's confusing because it's our operating system. What doesn't match our operating system just gets filtered out. We don't even notice it, or we minimize it or whatever else. And so it's hard for us to truly recognize that anyone else thinks differently than us or lives differently than us. I remember when I first took the MBTI, I think I was like 10 years old, 11 years old. It's very young. I remember just thinking, it's like, not everybody thinks like this. This doesn't make sense. Why would anyone think differently? Why would anyone answer this question any differently than the way I answered it? And that was because my belief system was already pretty hardwired at the time. The best place, I think, to take the MBTI is a website called 16 Personalities. I'm going to put a link in the description below so you can check that out. It's free. They do have a paid portion that you can buy. I think it's like a more in-depth analysis of your personality type, or maybe it's tailored directly to you based upon the answers you gave. I've never actually paid for that. This is not a paid advertisement, by the way, so feel free to use the free site or not, or use the buy the extra report or not. I don't care. They don't give me any money. But I do like theirs because it's very simple to use. It's fairly accurate, and I also like how they break things down. Break down the different personality types. The reason why they call it 16 personality types is because when you take the MBTI, there are, I think, about 70 questions or so, and each one of them is sort of this binary question, and sometimes they're pretty, they don't really relate to each other at all. It's like, when you go to a party, do you prefer to A, sit by yourself, or B, talk to everyone there? Obviously what they're studying is your introversion, your extroversion. But in other cases, the questions and the answers are just totally unrelated. But you'll have a question, and there'll be two options. You'll pick one of the options, and then you'll just move on to the next one. There will be times where the answers are so like, yeah, of course, why would anyone pick anything else? I don't get that. That doesn't make any sense. A should always be the right answer. And there'll be other ones where you'll look at them and like, I don't know. It kind of depends. I'm not really sure. I think they could both be true, whatever. Then what you do is you just pick the one that seems the most right to you at that time, or which one is true more often than not, or something like that. And so once you get done with all the questions, what it'll do is it'll spit out this code. It's always 4 letters, and then that code relates to 4 different aspects of one's personality. So you have 2 letters for 4 different spots, and then the way that works out is there's 16 different combinations, and so that's where they call it 16 personality types. The way the test is set up, the first letter that you see is kind of hardwired into your brain. That's the introversion and the extroversion. I'm going to do a whole video on introverts and extroverts later on. That one does seem to be pretty much kind of hardwired in the brain. It's more of a neurology sort of aspect. If you're a solid introvert, you will probably always be a solid introvert. If you're a solid extrovert, you'll probably always be a solid extrovert. And then every letter after that, it gets a little more squishy, to the point that last letter, which is usually a J or a P, those are the ones that can probably change the most. And if you have a lot of questions in which you're just sort of like, I don't know, it could be this, it could be that, that's probably indicating that aspect of your personality isn't really strong one way or the other. And some people are. There are some folks who we call ambiverts, who they're not strongly introverts or extroverts. They like kind of being alone, but they also like being around people. They kind of don't care either way. As a very strong introvert, that confuses the hell out of me, but that's part of how our brain works. So I recommend you take the test and kind of read through it and really think about what they're discussing. Now, if you take the test and you read through their answer, and it doesn't look like it quite fits, then take that answer and then go to they'll have like this page that has all of the 16 personality types laid out there, and you might find like you're in the analyst section or something like that. If that doesn't make sense, the one that they gave you doesn't make sense, read the other ones in that same category of the, I think there's like 4 different categories, and you can read through like all the other analysts, and maybe one of those matches you a little bit better, or maybe it's aspects of one and aspects of another one. That's all just the case that you're kind of on the cusp between those personality types, and so you just kind of have to read through a couple of them or so. But it's a really good way to, like I said, to learn more about yourself and get an idea of where you're coming from. There really isn't any wrong personality type, and every personality type has its own strengths and weaknesses, and that's another aspect of why you should know about your personality type, is that if you find yourself in a survival situation, especially if you're in a group of people, like perhaps a ship that's crashed onto an island and everybody's having to sort of live on their own, or it's the fan situation, it's you and your neighbors that are all kind of getting together. Knowing yourself can help you figure out sort of what your role should be, what your role would be best for you to fit into that community, how you can best help the community and also therefore best help yourself. And so knowing this beforehand can kind of help set you up for success. Just like if you know that you're the sort of person who is really good at electrical wiring, well then they should probably have you help trying to fix the generator or get the power hooked up or setting up solar panels. You shouldn't be the one out trying to find all the edible plants or anything, because that's not your strength. Let somebody else do that. Same thing here. If you find that you're a really good negotiator, then maybe you should be the one who's sort of talking to other groups of people or trying to resolve difficulties within the group itself. So this is why I think it's really important to learn more about personality types. Like I said, personality is basically your belief system in action. So if you're ever still trying to figure out like what some of your belief systems are, by learning more about your personality, you can kind of start breaking things down and thinking about, okay, what's important to me? Because I think this way and I feel this way, maybe what's important to me, kind of underlying that. But anyway, that's all I have for now. I'm going to do another video later on introversion and extroversion, because that's a very important but also very misunderstood aspect of our personality. And I will see y'all later. Bye.